Hi, Guten Erev Shabbos. This week's Parshas, Parshas Tazria, Mitzayra, and Parshas Tazria. In the beginning of the Parsha, talk about the mitzvah of Bris Milah, and it's there's a very interesting theme that develops in the beginning of the Parsha. First of all, we know that when a baby boy is born, after 8 days, it has to be circumcised, and that's the mitzvah of Bris Milah. As the pasuk says, Isha ki Tazria v'yolda zachar v'tema shivas yamim uvayem hashemini yimal b'sar lasa, and the 8th day has to get the Bris Milah. So there's a famous Gemara, or famous Medrash rather, where Turnus Rufus, who was the evil Roman emperor, in one of his many altercations with Rabbi Akiva, who he ultimately has killed. But in an earlier altercation, he asks Rabbi Akiva, if your God hates the uncircumcised so much, then why does he create man uncircumcised? This is the question that the evil Turnus Rufus asked Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva replied with a rhetorical, as Jews often do, he answered a question with a question, and he said, does the earth yield bread? Meaning, the earth itself, it doesn't give bread, it doesn't grow bread. If you want delicious bread, you have to bake it. You have to toil for it. And that was Rabbi Akiva's response. The reason why nobody is created perfect, nobody is created completely done, is because even from the outset, we need to work on ourselves, and we need human intervention in order to perfect ourselves. And that's the concept of Bris Milah. A baby is born, the baby immediately, even though it's done nothing wrong, it needs to do something. It needs to give its blood. It needs to give its blood and its tears in order to become one who is circumcised. And that's symbolic of what we all have to do. We all have to work on ourselves immediately and constantly. And I had seen this medrash before, but I had never seen, just a couple psukim later, the Klei Yakar discusses something else, and it's tied to the same thing. When the woman has to give birth, after a woman gives birth, she has to bring a carbon. And if there's many pshatim, many people talk about why a woman would have to give a carbon, and there are many answers, but the Klei Yakar himself brings multiple answers, and one of them is, I found very interesting. One of them is because it says, to atone for the original chet of Chava. What was Chava's chet? What was the sin that Chava did? Her sin was eating from the Eitz Hadas. You might ask, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting das? We daven for it every day. Atachonen la'adam das. Please Hashem, give us das. Why is Chava being punished for eating from the Eitz Hadas? And the answer is, it's a very similar theme to what we just discussed, because Chava was looking for the easy way out, so to speak. She wanted to just eat from the Eitz Hadas and then have the das and have the knowledge without working for it, just taking it. And that is something that is not the will of Hashem. Hashem does not want people to just know things, to be a genius is not the will of Hashem. To know everything, that's not the will of Hashem. Hashem wants us to work. Hashem wants us to toil, to work for something, because when you work for something, that's when you truly acquire it. So let's all keep in mind as we go into this Shabbos to work on ourselves. Let's always be, it says, Yifashbesh b'maisav, people should be working on themselves. So let's all do that. Let's all look at ourselves, whatever it is, doesn't make a difference, pick something and work on it. And I guarantee you, this is a fact, everybody knows that when you work at something and then you acquire it, it's much sweeter than if it's just given to you. So let's all maybe try to think of something that we could work on. It could be, everyone can have a different thing, it doesn't make a difference, but let's try to maybe think of something that we could work on, and let's work at it until we attain it. And then the success of that attainment will be so sweet. Have a good Shabbos.